I am Reed, I am 27, just an average dude. I've made tons of money mistakes in my 20s, and now I want to share everything I've learned to help you take control of your finances and your life. 6 months is genuinely all you need to completely change your financial life. And no, I am not saying you will be a millionaire in 6 months. That is not realistic, and anyone telling you that is selling you something. But what I am saying is that in that time, you can go from stressed out paycheck to paycheck, living in financial chaos, to having your money on some type of autopilot structure, an emergency fund, built debt, disappearing actual money working for you. The person you are financially today versus the person you will be 6 months from now can be completely unrecognizable. I know because I did it. It took me about a year and a half to 2 years to figure this stuff out through pure trial and error. Lots of mistakes, lots of late nights wondering if I was ever going to get my act together. But I am giving you the shortcut. Month by month, no fluff, no BS, just the playbook that actually worked for me, and thousands of other normal people I have helped along the way. So let me start with a little bit of my story, because I think context matters here. I grew up in a normal middle-class family. We were not rich. There was no inheritance waiting for me, no family connections, no one teaching me about money at the dinner table. I learned about money the hard way by making every mistake possible. In my early 20s, I was the definition of a mess financially. I was living paycheck to paycheck, spending money I did not have on things I did not need. I had credit card debt, I had no savings, I was ordering DoorDash like it was my job, and I was completely clueless about where my money was going. I thought I was doing fine because I was making enough to cover my bills, but I was not building anything. I was stuck on a hamster wheel, running as fast as I could and going absolutely nowhere. The turning point for me was when I realized that my 20s are the foundation for the rest of my life. If I kept going the way I was going, I would wake up at 30 or 40 or 50 with nothing to show for it. That scared the hell out of me, so I got serious. I started reading, watching videos, listening to podcasts, and most importantly, I started actually doing stuff, not just thinking about it. And that is what I want to share with you today. So let us not waste any more time. Let us get into it. Month one is all about honesty, like really looking yourself in the mirror and facing the reality of your financial situation. I am not going to sugarcoat it. This part is uncomfortable. It feels weird. Most people avoid this step their entire lives because deep down they already know what they will find and they are scared of it, but you cannot fix what you refuse to see. Here is what you need to do. Track every single dollar you spend for 30 days, every coffee, every DoorDash order, every subscription, every random Amazon purchase, every time you Venmo your friend for pizza. All of it. Get a notebook, use an app, use a spreadsheet. I do not care what tool you use, just do it. For 30 days, your only job is to document where your money is going. No judgment, no shame, no guilt. Just numbers. At the end of the month, you are going to look at that data and you are going to see patterns, and those patterns might piss you off. You might realize you spent $400 on food when you thought you were spending $200. You might see $60 a month going to subscriptions you do not even use. You might notice you are spending money on things that genuinely do not matter to you. That is the wake-up call. When I first did this, I was shocked. I already had pretty low expenses compared to most people my age, but I was still bleeding money in stupid ways. I was spending way too much on takeout. I was paying for streaming services I barely watched. I had a gym membership I used maybe twice a month. Little things that added up to $400 or $500 extra every single month. When you are not making much, that is a lot of money. Once I saw it, I could not unsee it. That awareness alone changed everything. So that is month one. Just awareness, just being honest with yourself. Because I know genuinely 40, 50, 60-year-old people who have never done this. And that is scary. That is the worst place you can be in life, is not knowing where your money is going. So by the end of month one, you should be able to answer one simple question. Where is my money actually going? That is it. That is the goal. Month two is what I call the income sprint. This is where we flip the script a little bit. You spent a month looking at your spending. Now it is time to look at your earnings. The thing about expenses is you can only cut so much. Eventually you hit a floor. You need to eat. You need a place to live. You still need basic human things. But your income, on the other hand, does not have a hard ceiling. I know that sounds cliche, but it is true. You can technically make more money. There is no law stopping you from earning an extra few $100 a month. And that is where month two comes in. Your goal here is to increase your earning potential. I do not care if it is $200 or $500 or $1,000. Just pick a number that feels realistic and go for it. The point is not the exact amount. The point is to create momentum and prove to yourself that you can make more money. Here are some ways to do it. Pick up a side hustle, do freelance work, sell stuff you do not need. Pick up extra shifts at your job. Learn a skill that actually pays. Ask for a raise. There are a million ways to make extra money. I hear people say all the time, oh, I do not know which one to choose. Dude, just pick one. Anyone. Rewind this video if you need to hear the list again, and then go all in for the next 30 days. Personally, I would recommend using the skills you already have in your day job and selling them as a service on the side. If you work in sales, do sales consulting. If you know how to build websites, offer that. If you are good at writing, offer copywriting services. $500 a month is literally one client paying you a retainer. That is it, one extra client. For me, this month was about going all in on my sales job and also picking up consulting work on the side. I was scrappy. I knew that if I could create a gap between what I earned and what I spent, that gap could be everything. And here's the most important part of month 2. When your income goes up, do not let your expenses go up with it. Most people get a raise or make some extra money and immediately start spending more. They go out more, they buy nicer stuff, they upgrade their lifestyle. Do not do that. Keep your expenses flat or even decreasing. That is the game. By the end of month 2, you should have generated at least a few hundred extra bucks, and you should have maintained or reduced your spending from month 1. If you can create a gap of $500 to $1,000 a month between what you earn and what you spend, you are on a really, really good track. That gap is your oxygen. That is where you start building real wealth. Month 3 is all about building a safety net. You have tracked your spending, you have increased your income. Now it is time to build something that protects you. I am talking about an emergency fund. I know it sounds boring, it is not sexy, it is not exciting, but having money sitting in an account that you do not touch is one of the most psychologically freeing things you can do. It gets you out of survival mode. It gets you out of that constant anxiety of wondering where your next paycheck is going to come from, because you literally need every dollar to survive. Your goal here is to save $1,500 to $2,000. If you live in an expensive city like New York or San Francisco, that might not go very far, but for most people, that is enough to cover a car repair, a medical bill, or some other unexpected expense that would have previously destroyed you financially. This matters because if you do not have this fund, you make decisions out of fear. You stay in jobs you hate because you cannot afford to lose a paycheck. You go into debt when something breaks. You are living on the edge, one bad month away from disaster. Having just $1,000 sitting there lets you breathe. It gives you options. It gives you room to make better decisions. When I first started stacking cash, I acted broke. I lived broke. No new clothes, no going out, nothing. I was paranoid about losing momentum, so I saved as aggressively as I could. Maybe it was not the smartest thing to do long term, but it worked short term. Here's how you do it. Take the gap you created in month 2, the extra $500 or $1,000, and put it straight into a separate savings account. Do not touch it. Do not spend it on expenses. Do not buy nice things. Literally just let it sit there and grow. If you can cut one more major expense this month, maybe move to a cheaper place, sell a car with a payment, and buy something cheaper, or cancel a big subscription you do not need. Find one thing and cut it. By the end of month 3, you should have $1,000 to $2,000 saved, and you should feel different. You should feel a little safer and a little more in control. That is the whole goal right there. Month 4 is the debt attack. This is where you go to war with your debt. If you have high interest debt like credit cards or personal loans, anything above 10% interest, this is the month you start crushing it. If you do not have debt, skip this step and keep building your emergency fund up to 3, 4, 5 grand. But if you have debt, listen to me carefully. Debt is a trap. It keeps you stuck. It is a constant weight on your shoulders. Every month you are paying interest. You are paying for the privilege of being broke. If you want to get ahead, that has to stop. No question about it. Here's what you do. List out all your debts from smallest to largest. Attack the smallest one first with everything you have got. This is called the debt snowball method. Some people will tell you to attack the highest interest debt first, and mathematically that makes sense. But personally, I found that paying off the smallest debt first gives you a psychological win that keeps you motivated. Pay off that $200 collections bill with your side hustle money. Put that $50 you were going to spend on something dumb toward your debt. Be ruthless. It is going to feel like a grind. It is not going to be fun, but it is necessary, and it will feel amazing when that first debt gets cleared. I remember paying off my first credit card. It was not a huge amount of money, but the feeling of being free from that monthly payment was incredible. By the end of month 4, you should have either paid off one significant debt or significantly reduced your overall debt load. And do not touch your emergency fund for this. That is your safety net. The debt stuff is separate. This is the month that separates people who are serious from people who are just playing around. Month 5 is about education and automation. This is where things start to get a little more complex. So stay with me. You have built a safety net. You have attacked your debt. Now it is time to learn about setting up systems that run on autopilot. You have 2 goals for this month. First, educate yourself on investing. Second, automate your finances. Let us start with investing. If you have never invested before, it can feel overwhelming. There is a ton of information out there, so many options, so many apps, so many people telling you different things. But it is simpler than you think for most beginners. Your goal is not to become an expert stock picker or get rich overnight. Your goal is just to understand the basics. What is an index fund? What is a Roth IRA? What is compound interest? How does the stock market actually work? Spend a few hours reading, watching videos, or listening to podcasts. Get familiar with the concepts you are not investing yet that comes next month. This month is just about education, because when you understand how money can grow over time, when you understand that $100 invested today could be worth $1,000 or more in 20 or 30 years, that is when investing starts to feel exciting. Without that understanding, you will panic and sell the first time the market drops. The second goal for month 5 is automation. You need to set up systems so your money moves automatically without you having to think about it. Set up an automatic transfer from your checking account to your savings account every time you get paid. Set up automatic payments for your bills so you never miss one. Set up automatic contributions to your investment account even if it is only $50 a month. The point is to remove willpower from the equation. If you have to manually decide every month whether to save or invest, you will talk yourself out of it. Set it once and forget it. When I hit this phase, everything got easier. I stopped thinking about money every day. I was not stressed about whether I remembered to transfer money. I just set it up and let it run. By the end of month 5, you should understand the basics of investing. You should have automated systems running in the background. Your emergency fund should be fully funded with at least 3 to 6 months of expenses, and your debt should be lower than it was in month 4. You should feel like you are in control. Month 6 is the investment month and riding the wave of momentum. This is where you make your first real investment. The key word here is momentum more than the actual investment itself. You open a brokerage account, you put in your first $50 or $100, even if it feels small, because this is the moment you stop being someone who just saves money and become someone who builds wealth. You are not trying to pick individual stocks or get rich quick. You are investing in boring, simple index funds that track the entire market. You are playing the long game. When I made my first investment, it felt surreal. I remember looking at my account, seeing that I owned a tiny piece of the stock market. It was not much, but it was something real. And every month after that, I kept adding to it over time. That small amount turned into something tangible that I could actually use. The psychological shift that happens when you invest for the first time is incredible. You stop thinking like someone who is just trying to survive, and you start thinking like someone who is building actual long-term wealth. You start seeing every dollar as a tool that can work for you and grow over time. By the end of month 6, you should have a fully funded emergency fund untouched. You should have paid off at least one big debt or significantly reduced your overall debt. You should have automated your savings and bills, and you should have made your first investment. But more importantly, you have completely changed as a person. You have changed your habits. You went from someone who was stressed about money, living paycheck to paycheck, and fearful about everything, to someone who is calm, proactive, and in control. Are you a millionaire yet? Number, are you rich yet? But you have built the foundation, and that foundation is everything, because now you have the energy and the momentum to keep going. What took me a year and a half to figure out through trial and error, you just did in 6 months. That is the power of having a clear plan and actually sticking to it. I want to be real with you for a second. This is not easy. None of this stuff is easy. If it was easy, everyone would be rich. But it is simple. There is a difference between simple and easy. Simple means the steps are straightforward. Easy means it requires no effort. This requires effort. It requires discipline. It requires making choices that suck in the short term but pay off huge in the long term. But I promise you, it is worth it. The freedom that comes from having your finances under control is something no amount of money can buy. It changes how you sleep at night. It changes how you show up in relationships. It changes how you see your future. So please do this. If you have questions, leave them in the comments, but do not just watch this video and forget about it. Take action. Start with month 1 today. Track your spending for the next 30 days. It costs nothing, and it could change everything. A few more things I want to share from my own journey that did not fit neatly into the 6-month structure. The first is that you will mess up. That is okay.